Count them out.
Turning our attention to year one of the Kyle Whittingham era in Ann Arbor. You want to talk about just biases from your own experience. I think I'm in on something. I think I feel good about that. Bryce Underwood will play better in the 2026 season than he did in the spring game. Are we in on that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, cool. I thought that would be bold. I think Bryce Underwood is in fact going to be a lot better than the panic coming out of spring practice and the panic coming out of the publicly viewed spring game. I think that Bryce Underwood is very focused on his big picture and very focused on making sure that he's able to stack improvement and be able to take some steps forward. I also think that when you've got a dynamic 1-2 punch of Jordan Marshall and Savion Hyder, you might not even need to put that much on his plate for this Michigan offense to be able to at least be efficient and effective against some of the best teams in the country. And look, with an over-under win total of 8.5 at DraftKings Sportsbook, with the under heavily juiced at -180, there is certainly an expectation that they'll take some losses along the way. Tom, do you see that as well? And sort of how do you see this shaking out for Kyle Whittingham and Bryce Underwood?
First of all, I would like to say that I am happy that here in August of 2026, the biggest controversy surrounding Michigan football right now is that Kyle Whittingham doesn't hate Ryan Day. Compared to the controversies that have surrounded this program in recent years, we are already clearly on a better path than we had been.
That's true. Thank you. Good job, Michigan.
Second, not sure I agree with him on that. But anyways, so I think as far as this team is concerned this year, my numbers have this as a slight over, so that's what I'm picking. That said, I don't know that I want to be picking the over because I'm not all that confident in them winning that Oklahoma game. And I typically think that Oklahoma game is a must win if they're going to hit this over because they do have Indiana. They are at Oregon. They are at Ohio State. It is difficult for me to think that they're winning all three of those three games, or if they're not, they're probably losing those three games. And there's also the argument that, hey, this team went 9-3 last year with Bryce Underwood playing like crap and a coaching staff that was an absolute mess. Now that there are adults in the room, they're probably going to be better. True, but I don't know if this team is as talented as the Michigan teams we're used to seeing in recent years. So even if Underwood takes that step forward, I love Marsh at receiver. I haven't seen Savion Hyder play, but I'm told he's phenomenal. I think that's great. But I don't know about their offensive line. I don't know if it's going to be one of the better offensive lines in the country. Defensively, I think there's talent on that defensive line, and I think John Henry Daly is a nice transfer kid, but I don't know that he's 100% healthy, is he? So
pitch count.
Yeah. So I don't know how strong this team is on the lines of scrimmage compared to the Michigan teams that we have seen in recent years. So I am on the over. I do not recommend betting it. I certainly ain't.
Yeah. So I thought we were going with 7.5 and 8.5 are basically juiced just opposite ways, right? Over 7.5 is minus $1.86, under 8.5 is minus $1.80, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't read the sheet right. So I was going to go over on 7.5. I actually think this is a fairly important number here. I think 8-4 comes up a lot in the modeling. So I am going to be slightly under here. If I was going to bet the over, I would pay up for the for the 7.5 minus $1.80, minus $1.86, whatever it is. So I'm slightly under. Indiana, Oregon, and Ohio State absolutely take business against, just take care of business against the rest of this conference. And I do think that everybody's elevated, but I also think those teams are still, really quite good. Iowa at Minnesota, Penn State is not a lock to be 3-0, right? If you go 1-3, Oklahoma, Indiana at Oregon and Ohio State, then you have to sweep Iowa at Minnesota, Penn State to hit this over. So I see 8-4 coming up quite often, and I'm going to be under here. But Babaloa is practicing in the lineup. John Henry Daly, we've seen clips from this weekend, is already practicing and in the lineup. There are a lot of encouraging signs here. Everybody's talking about how good Buchanan is. I think we are very in Like we're Hyder Hive for sure. But I still like numbers matter, and so I'll be under here.
I don't know. Like, I don't know if I want to be part of a hive with a guy who has that name because it's a little too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
We were doing some All-American ballot, tabulations, and I had to send some tricky text messages.
Why is your phone autocorrecting to that, Chip? What else are you texting to people?
Not trying to get an HR complaint.
Yeah.
Not trying to
Chip's just got the World War II group chat. Okay, that's all that's going on.
So great question from Garrett, which I think that Bud you just answered, and so to sort of reiterate for the audience that we yelled for years about sports books that would set a win total at a round number. We called them cowards, and they said, "All right, we'll learn math, nerds." So now you can offer an 8.5 and a 7.5 and win, as Bud mentioned. We are minus 186 to the over on 7.5, meaning you're paying $186 to win 100. And then you're minus 180 to the under on 8.5, means the most likely outcome, the coin flip outcome. Everything keeps coming back 8-4, and so do I. So yeah, for the official 8.5, I'm going to go with the under here. I would not consider betting this necessarily, but I see teams that I have in my college football playoff all over this schedule, and I do not have Michigan quite yet on that tier as those teams that I think are college football playoff teams. Very, very good team. And you know what? If they hold serve against everybody else in the Big Ten, then sure, they get to 9-3. But I'm looking at, as you mentioned, Bud, you zeroed in on it. Got too much respect for Penn State, Iowa, Minnesota to just automatically chalk those up as W's here. So slightly to the under. I see this as an 8-4. And I had not even considered I would pay up for over 7.5 as a play. I do kind of like that because I do think the way the team is built, it's a high floor proposition. I just think that the floor is more of a 7-5 type floor.
Yeah, with health, I think under 7.5 it would be surprising to me.
Yeah,
I don't think they're going 7-5, but they could.